All right, so let me get right into the presentation. So before we get started, though, Shug, did you want to, say anything to your people, man, and kind of cue it up or tee it up, or
Questions, mods. I need help keeping track of the questions because we're gonna take. He'll take some questions at the end of the presentation. You can call in or hit the link. So mods, please, if y'all see very interesting questions, try to keep them for me.
cool, cool. Thank you, bro. And so part of what I'm gonna talk about tonight, it kind of it definitely ties into the overall idea that in America, just like in the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago, there is no room, there is no toleration for any true revolutionary groups. I think if you know what, Shook, I'm going with your permission. I'm going to post on my YouTube page the Judas Goat series that we did together, and then you could pull down the link. But
Sure.
with your permission, I'm going to post it. And then anybody that wants to go see it, they just need to go to the Free Thought channel on YouTube. Free Thought channel. And as a matter of fact, it's also under the Scott Report. So that actually may be a better link. Go to the Scott Report on YouTube, and you'll be able to catch that Judas Goat series where we discuss how the Black Panther Party was indeed a government organization, funded, promoted, and basically organized by the federal government as a honey trap for revolutionaries and young Black men and young sisters all over the country back in the 60s. And essentially, all of their leaders, based on the presentation that I showed, managed to have overwhelming abilities when it came to getting around government stuff. So just to highlight Huey Newton, arrested for killing a cop, on trial for murder. He beats the case in the 1960s and then managed to hop on an airplane with a passport and go to China to visit an open enemy, a communist country. You had Eldridge Cleaver. Exactly. You had Eldridge Cleaver who went to Cuba. He got kicked out of Cuba because Castro and the Cubans said he was the CIA. And then we also showed the video of when the Black Panthers stormed the Capitol in Sacramento, California, with shotguns and leather jackets and black berets. And we was like, man, how could that happen back in a time when, a Black man anywhere in America with a gun was probably going to get shot on sight, let alone in the Capitol building.
Right.
So anyway, we expose all that. Again, check it out. It's called Judas Goat. So tonight, under the same thing, I think you'll find that the Nation of Islam has a lot of similarities in terms of how it was organized, set up, but more importantly, how it took down a lot of the radical elements in the society that this country don't want to see move up. People like Malcolm X, people like Khalid Muhammad. Muhammad Ali was restrained to a certain extent. But I think Malcolm X was the greatest hero to come out of the nation. And I want to show that and also show what he thought towards the end of his life. In fact, I have a video that we're going to queue up soon where he breaks down exactly the point I'm making, that the Nation of Islam was indeed a government-controlled, operated, shill, fake organization designed really to take down the most radical elements in the Black community. So with that said, let me share my page, bro. I don't know if you could see it yet, but it's on the bottom.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me see. Can I go to full screen? Did you have any questions about the introduction, bro?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, I'm just going to jump in. I'm not going to really mess with it. Okay, so here's the table of contents. It's very brief. Basically, we're going to cover the history of the Nation of Islam. We're going to go into the doctrine of the Nation of Islam. We're going to cover the Malcolm X press conference that that I mentioned, that kind of exposes, edifies the point that I'm making. We're going to look at John Ali, the National Secretary of the Nation of Islam, who was really like the second in command throughout the 1960s and 70s. If anybody ever watched The Godfather, Tom Hagen was the consigliere, the man in the guy. roles are Elijah Muhammad being the boss, the consigliere, if you will, was John Ali, former national secretary. We're also going to talk about H.L. Hunt and how the Nation of Islam was directly funded by right-wing billionaires. We're also going to talk about the assassination of Malcolm. And then we're going to get into Louis Farrakhan and what I think his role was. And again, talking about some of my personal experiences, going to the Million Man March, getting my ex when I was in high school. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. All right. So the history of the Nation of Islam. So here's a picture. And some folks may know this, some people may not. On the left side of your screen, it looks like a white man. It looks like Prince Charles, right? Somebody from England. This man's name, and anybody can look this up, is Master W.D. Farad Muhammad. Now, we gave him that title in the nation. We called him Master Farad Muhammad. In fact, I used to have this picture on my wall, along with pictures of the messenger and Minister Farrakhan, Malcolm, etc. But so a lot of people say, well, man, the Nation of Islam, they preach that the white man is a devil. That's what they're known for, right? But clearly, you got a contradiction here. He's like, well, wait a minute. Who is this white man? Well, this white man is the founder of the Nation of Islam. He taught Elijah Muhammad. Now, Elijah Muhammad is pictured right here. He got arrested for dodging the draft back in the 50s. And he's being escorted here by the FBI agent. But this man here is this man's teacher. Okay? And we're going to get into the doctrine and some of the hypocritical aspects of it. But the point I want to make is a lot of folks don't know who this guy is. They know who he is. They know who Elijah Muhammad is, but they've never heard of Farad Muhammad. So it's very interesting that this white man, Pakistani man, was the founder. And yet one of the chief teachings of the Nation of Islam was that the white man was indeed the devil. So it's a contradiction. And I had to deal with it from a cognitive dissident, perspective, because at the time, here I am looking at this man's picture and it never even, again, sometimes religion can cloud you. So, I mean, we can deal with that and talk about that. And please, in the questions, let me know what you think about Farad Muhammad. In addition to that, the Nation of Islam's history, obviously you got Malcolm X here. Malcolm X, and then here's a picture of young Louis Farrakhan, who was his protege. Malcolm X really, and I'm not, this is no exaggeration. Prior to him becoming a part of the Nation of Islam, I believe in 59 he joined, or 57 when he got out of prison, 59. There was no newspaper. There was about maybe 12 or 15 mosques in the Midwest. But by the end of Malcolm's life, let's say 1963, he had grown as the national spokesman for the Nation of Islam, the national representative under Elijah Muhammad. He had literally built the Nation of Islam from an organizing perspective. Now, I can show you a video later. Elijah Muhammad was not the greatest orator, but he was wise enough, smart enough to pick people like Malcolm X and Louis Farrakhan to be the national spokesperson or spokespeople in the Nation of Islam. Back to Malcolm. Malcolm actually started the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. Prior to that, there was no newspaper in the Nation of Islam. And that became one of their biggest funding sources and biggest advertising resources. In addition to that, he opened, hundreds of mosques throughout the United States. There's a 60 Minutes documentary, if you want to YouTube it, for the people that are watching, that are called The Hate. It's called The Hate That Hate Produced. And it showed the Nation of Islam at its height in the early 60s. But back to the point, if it was no Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam would not have had, in my opinion, and a lot of opinion of a lot of historians, the great success that they had in the number of followers, the mass media attention, and of course the newspaper. Now, not taking anything away from Elijah Muhammad, he did successfully put together, the doctrine, if you will, philosophy of the Nation of Islam. And one of the things that attracted me as a young man is, clean cut, bow tie, Sharp. Now, of course, this was the second resurrection, if this is the term that is used under Farrakhan. But throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, and to today, they know the Nation of Islam is synonymous with uh, being upright, being straight. A brother that's sharp. No alcohol, no drugs, always in a suit, speaking proper, walking proper. Everything is right and exact, almost like a Mason, but full time, if you will. And we can get into that. But the point is, they separated themselves as an elite vanguard, and that was very attractive. In addition to marching and learning all the militant aspects of the fruit of Islam, which every male member of the Nation of Islam has to be a part of the fruit, which is, if you want to call it, for lack of a better word, the paramilitary arm of the nation, the rank and file. And we had lieutenants, captains, supreme captains, regional captains, structured like a military operation. So that was very attractive to a lot of people. And it definitely attracted me as a young man. And it kept me, it was good at the time. It really put me on track and saved a lot of people. A lot of brothers, and this even goes back to the earlier Nation of Islam under Malcolm, came to the nation out of prison because it did rehabilitate them and clean them up. Or, if they were drug addicts, etc. Everybody didn't have that route, but a lot more did. This teaching attracted that element of society, so to speak, and made us men and made them men. So there is some credit due for that. But like anything that I've discussed historically, you have to understand fundamentally that the United States government had a denial objective that goes all the way back to the 30s, where they were determined not to let any organization, particularly a Black organization, ever be successful in uplifting Black people. In fact, the FBI documents say this verbatim, to stop the rise of a Black Messiah and to stop organizations from coming together in the Black community. So much so that the man that actually took down Marcus Garvey later on became the head of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. In the 1930s, when he came after Marcus Garvey, who was one of the first big liberation movements, the UNIA, he basically was with the State Department, and he was so successful in destroying that Black organization that he was later getting funded, and they created the branch known as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI. So anyway, that's sort of the history with the nation in that perspective. Now, as you can see here, here's Elijah Muhammad seated at the home. This was right after the assassination of Malcolm X, which happened on February 21st, 1965. And here you can see Elijah Muhammad's son. I believe this is Wilbert Muhammad. You can see the national secretary in the middle, John Ali. And I believe this is one of the captains. This might have been James Muhammad. And then here's another picture here with Malcolm off to the right, rather, of your screen, with Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm, and then John Ali in the back. Again, Malcolm was a national spokesman, but Elijah Muhammad was the leader without a doubt. All right, so let's get right into it. One of the topics that I want to discuss, well, let me go back to the table of contents. So the first thing, now that you've got a brief understanding of the history of the nation, we want to talk about the doctrine. Now, as I mentioned earlier, part of the doctrine is, the white man is a devil. But from the outside looking in, not knowing the hypocritical nature of the fact that the leader or the founder, who we refer to as God in person, looked like a white man. So on one level, cognitive dissonance said, all right, we're leaving Christianity, and a lot of us did. I was a former Christian that was attracted to the Nation of Islam. And the image of a white Jesus and how abhorrent that was. Like, man, I'm a Black man. Jesus, I ain't gonna follow no white Jesus. I mean, come on, we kind of understand that level of rather understanding and consciousness. However, the contradiction was that the guy that founded the group that I was now in, and a lot of us were in, was a white man. Clearly white looking, identified as white. And again, the doctrine was that, hey, he he had to come into this white flesh in order to get into America to save us as our Messiah. In hindsight, again, it really seems ridiculous, but at the time, I couldn't even see it. Again, cognitive dissonance is heavy. I also want to show you a video of an experiment that they did with cognitive dissonance, and it's really profound how a person could have a belief system that literally blinds them. But anyway, back to the doctrine. So another doctrine, this is a video I want to go through with you, has to do with the tribe of Sabaj. Tribe of Sabaz. The tribe of Sabaz is detailed in this book right here. Let me actually stop sharing my screen and go through a few books before we look at this video. You know, it's one thing, brother, to have a subject matter, and I know you agree with this. It's another thing to be able to source, right? To not just be talking, but to actually show, hey, man, here's the receipt. You know what I'm saying? So this is, and you can see, this is my message to the black man book. This book is probably, no lie, 30 years old. And it's ripped up and, you know, but this was like required reading in the Nation of Islam. And in this book, there's a story that goes in detail about the tribe of Sabaj. And actually, I would like to just show y'all the page in case you're out there and you want to look it up for yourself. Let me pull this up here. Okay. 31, and Message to the Black Man, the Tribe of Shabazz. You required reading and understanding for members. But here's why this story is so, why I'm bringing it up as part of the doctrine, why it's important. Because just like, you know, the Messiah, if you will, for us, looked like a white man and posed as a white man in society, we believed in the Nation of Islam, and we were taught as a matter of doctrine that the tribe of Sabaz was the tribe that black people in America belonged to. And that we were chosen by God in the last day, right, to and set up a black nation, the Nation of Islam. But what we were also told was that the reason the tribe of Shabazz fell and went into slavery was because they were cursed by God. Cursed, here we go, brother, with nappy hair, big lips, and all things African. Now, from the outside looking in, you may not think that the Nation of Islam had that kind of philosophy, but I'm going to share with you a video which some people have seen, but it basically breaks down, and it's from Minister Farrakhan. I'm sharing my screen now, brother, about this doctrine. So I'll let you listen. And please, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in, and I'll try to answer them and get to them at the end. But here's the video.
So Shabazz was not permitted to stay in that area, so he took his family into the jungle of East Asia, which we now call Africa, to make a people close to nature. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we didn't have kinky hair prior. It was hair on our eyebrows. The hair on your eyebrows straight. The hair on your head is not the same as the hair on your eyebrow. But the hair of every other people is the same as their eyebrow. Your eyebrow straight, your hair something different. Wouldn't you like the hair on your head to be as straight as the hair on your eyebrow?
Now, how hypocritical. I got to just chime in real quick. I'm going to play the video back. About it, how hypocritical is that, bro?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I was about to say that back.
You know, and this is what we believe based on the doctrine, based on the theology. I'm going to start again. Here we go.
Eyebrow. Your eyebrow straight, your hair something on your head to be as straight eyebrow. Right. That's why you're so busy pulling it. because your nature tells you that the kink I mean, you know, with I'm black and I'm proud, we got to learn to be proud of kinks, because most of your family of other black people on the earth, jet black. They didn't have no broad nose and thick lips and kinky hair. They were dark-skinned people, jet black, but they had straight hair, a thinner lip, a thinner nose. But we are marked as a different kind of black person. And we were rejected and despised, not only from the circle of the gods, but we were despised and rejected by all the other dark people of the earth. This is why today black people with kinky hair and broad nose and thick lips are rejected in every society. I want you to hear me well tonight. Yes, sir. Why are we rejected? Because the essence of beauty is in obedience and submission to God. And the essence of ugliness is when you rebel against God. And when you
you see how it sounds like a white racist is saying this, right?
I can't believe who's saying it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, historically, which is, I got to go back to this and just remind people. Let me share my, come back to the video. This is a book here called The Curse of Ham. A lot of people know, who have studied Christianity and Islam and Judaism, they've heard about this curse. And basically, theologians have theorized for thousands of years that this cursed person was a black person, right? You were cursed with black skin. Again, this is a theology that a lot of people in religion know about. But the fact that you got Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam promoting that black people are cursed with nappy hair, big lips, and big noses, dude, it just goes to show, again, cognitive dissonance, right? I'm only going through the doctrine. I'm only going to touch on this, and we talked about the white Messiah thing, but I just want to show this is what we had to deal with, or this was what we were taught to believe in the nation. And incidentally, I'm going to pull this up real quick, too, just in case, because oftentimes, you know, again, credentials are important. So I was in the Nation of Islam, like I said, as a young man. This is actually my letter. I still got it, bro. From 1992. Mos Mariam, Chicago. We had to write a letter and, you know, submit basically an application, and we got our lessons and everything. So anybody that doubt, and I got my X on January 18th, 1993. My affiliation with the nation. There it is. There's my receipt. So I'm not just talking. I know the history behind it. Now, let's get down to brass tacks, because I made a claim, and some people may see that claim as, you know, kind of couldn't be true. The Nation of Islam could not be working for the feds and, you know, telling us that, you know, they for us and really the police at the same time. Here's Malcolm X. I'm about to pull this up on my screen and share it. This particular press conference was done on February 15th, 1965. And it speaks volumes. All right, I'm sharing my screen now. The first clip I'm going to show you is on the first 50 seconds. Listen to what Malcolm says about the Nation of Islam. Now, bear in mind, he was assassinated 6 days later on the 21st of February. Here we go.
I wanted you to know that my house was bombed. It was bombed by the Black Muslim movement upon the orders of Elijah Muhammad. Now, they had come around, so they had planned to do it from the front and the back so that I couldn't get out. They covered the front completely, the front door. Then they had come to the back, but instead of getting in directly in the back of the house and throwing it this way, they stood at a 45-degree angle and tossed it at the window, so it glanced and went onto the ground.
So here's the context. His house was bombed with him and his children and his wife in it 6 days prior to him being assassinated. He came out blatantly and said the Nation of Islam did this, attempted assassination and murder of his family. But now I'm going to go right to clip 50, where, again, my allegations that they were funded, supported, and backed by the U.S. government, and really a phony organization, right at around 50. So we're going to skip around a little bit on this Malcolm video. Here we go.
I would not wait, and I said it because of this. The police know the criminal operation of the Black Muslim movement because they have thoroughly infiltrated it. The only thing that I regret in all of this is that two black groups have to fight and kill each other off.
So did you catch that? He said the police know who did it because the police have thoroughly infiltrated it. All right. So for the sake of time, we're going to skip ahead again. Here we go at 7:30 in the video. After this question, listen to what Malcolm says about the nation.
And the white wing in this country, could you elaborate on that? I mentioned the conspiracy between the Muslims and the right wing in this country. I know for a fact that there is a conspiracy between the Muslims and the Lincoln Rockwell Nazi and also the Ku Klux Klan. There is a conspiracy. Describe this conspiracy. Well, the Ku Klux Klan made a deal, or were trying to make a deal with Elijah Muhammad in 1960 in the home of Jeremiah X, a minister in Atlanta at that time, who was president, the minister in Philadelphia. They were trying to make a deal with him to make available to Elijah Muhammad a county, a size tract of land in Georgia or South Carolina, where Elijah Muhammad could then induce Negroes to migrate and make it appear that this program of a segregated state or separated state was feasible. And to what extent these negotiations finally developed, I do not know, because I was not involved in them beyond the period of December 1960.
So there you have it. He said there is a conspiracy between the Nation of Islam, the right wing in this country, and the Klan. But see, Malcolm is such a great orator, and he probably was under tremendous pressure. I know he was stressed out. But he goes even further in explaining the details of this inner workings of the nation and the conspiracy. All right, so we're going to skip to 21. Here we go.
I would like to say this before anything else, and that is, don't think that I don't know how bad I make myself look by attacking an organization that I was once so inseparably a part of. But I'm not particularly concerned with how bad it makes me look. My prime concern is to expose it to the fullest of my ability. Let the chips fall where they may. And if the Black Muslim movement says that I'm wrong in what I say, then I say, since they are so well qualified and equipped, let them attack the Klan. Let them go find out, let them get the persons who bombed that church in Birmingham. Because I'll go get them. I'll go attack the Klan and attack Rockwell and any of the others. And I defy them to do so. They can't do it. Because they both have the same paymaster.
You hear that? They both have the same paymaster. And that paymaster is a man by the name of H.L. Hunt, who was a billionaire in Dallas, Texas. We're going to talk about that too. So let me show you another clip. Did you have any questions before I show this next clip, bro?
No, sir.
All right, here we go. Malcolm X on the Nation of Islam.
And break the window, crack the glass. And then they threw the bombs in after the glass was broken. And that was in the front part that the city police don't know about, because they have policemen in there. They don't let black people form anything without some policemen in there. And while I was in the Black Muslim movement, many of the police who were sent to infiltrate us, they're black, would tell me, say, look, I'm a cop, but I have to come. They would tell me. I knew the Muslim movement was full of police. So don't you think anything is going down that they don't know about? The only thing that goes down is what they want to go down. And what they don't want to go down, they don't let it go down.
So that's a very important point, man, that Malcolm is pointing out. And anybody that has done any research on COINTELPRO, this is the book here, the COINTELPRO papers. and this is written by Ward Churchill, breaks down how counterintelligence organizations or the FBI use counterintelligent methods to go in and infiltrate Black organizations, the Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers, tons of groups, obviously Dr. King's organization, with police, with agents, right? Not for the benefit of the people, but for the detriment. So the research is out there if anybody want to look upon, look on it. But these clips from Malcolm are rare. And some folks may have never heard him speak like this, but he breaks it down. There's one more clip where he exposes it. I'm going to show you that right now too. So here we go.
One last question, yes, sir. You know what what temperature was? It was about 15 or 20. And seduced them, the Klan.
So this is why, he left the Nation of Islam. And this is going to be key at the end of this presentation, because I want to talk about a subject of Louis Farrakhan and polygamy. And so this is going to be key, because if anybody recall, one of the charges that Malcolm made against the Nation of Islam was that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, look at that, I still call him honorable, even though what he did was not honorable at all, but creature of habit, right? Had fathered teenage children, or fathered children with teenage women out of wedlock. So here we go.
Yes, he's immoral. You can't take 9 teenage women and seduce them and give them babies and not tell me and then tell me you're moral. You could do it if you admitted you did it and admitted that the babies were yours. I'd shake your hand and call you a man. A good one, too. But anytime you seduce teenage girls and make them be charged with adultery, make them hide your crime, why, you're not even a man, much less a divine man. So, and this is what he did. He took at least 9 that we know about. And I'm not speculating, because he told this to me himself. Yes, that's why he wanted me dead, because he knew that as soon as I woke up, I'd tell it. It's 9 of them, not 2 of them that are suing him, but 9 of them. And the FBI knows it, the law in Chicago knows it, the press even knows it, and they won't expose the man. And you don't let me get off of here tonight without telling you why they won't expose it, why they're afraid to expose it. They know that if they expose him, that he has the most, see, the Black Muslim movement, it was organized in such a way that it attracted the most militant, the most uncompromising, the most fearless, and the youngest of the Black people in the United States. That's who went into it. Those who didn't mind dying, they didn't mind making a sacrifice. All they were interested in was freedom and justice and equality, and they would do anything to see that it was brought about. These are the people who have followed him for the past 12 years, and the government knows it. But all of these ultra militants have been held in check in an organization that doesn't take an active part in anything, and therefore it cannot be a threat.
All right, so here's why that's so important, man. That one segment is like massive if you think about it. Malcolm X exposed the fact that the government of the United States basically could have arrested Elijah Muhammad for polygamy. They could have put him in handcuffs, like they do a lot of those people out in Salt Lake City. What do they call it? Mormons. Every now and then they'll get a Mormon preacher. He got multiple wives, and they can arrest him for polygamy and throw him in jail. What Malcolm just exposed was the fact that the press knew it, the feds knew it, the police knew it, about Elijah Muhammad's infidelity, so to speak, but they didn't expose it, which would embarrass him and create a situation where there would be a vacuum in leadership, because he kept the most militant, Elijah Muhammad, under his leadership, kept the most militant element of society in check. In other words, during that time in the 60s, just like we talked about with the Black Panthers, there was an element of society, young Black men, young Black women who were willing to die and kill in order to get civil rights and justice in this country. But a group like the Nation of Islam that looked tough, I walked in the Nation. We couldn't carry any guns. We couldn't carry knives. We couldn't carry any weapons at all. We were totally disarmed, put in a suit and a bow tie to have an image of militancy. But we were further than anything militant whatsoever in terms of responding to the needs of Black people in a true militant way. So if you understand the dynamic I'm talking about, the government, and I'm introducing this new term, like a honey pot or a honey trap. This term is actually used in terms of people getting blackmailed with prostitution rings, but it's perfect for this scenario because what it did, like Malcolm said, it took the most radical elements in society, draw them into this group, made them be part of the group and follow all the rules so that they wouldn't go out and do the type of violent militant actions that they otherwise would do if they weren't kept in check by a sheepdog, right? They kept all the sheep from, well, that's not really a great analogy, but they kept all the most violent and the most militant young men in the society from really expressing that by setting up this organization. So did you have any questions about this clip before I move on, bro?
Oh, sir.
All right. So this is John Ali. So now Malcolm talked about it being infected with police and people who were, tied to the federal government. Here's John Ali. This is after the Kennedy assassination. Now remember, the philosophy of the Nation of Islam is the white man's the devil, number one. Number two, that there will be a battle against Muslims and the United States. This was the doctrine of the Nation of Islam now. And it would be a decisive battle because the United States was evil and the Nation of Islam was righteous, right? Okay. If that's true, and that, again, is what we were taught and what we preached and what was preached, I want you to listen to this interview with John Ali, the former national secretary, the second in command almost with the Nation of Islam, the top council. Let's see here. This is freezing up a little bit. Let me see if I can skip to the next clip. Well, I'm monologuing, bro, so I'm gonna stop sharing until I can get this to unfreeze.
Okay.
Did you have any you got any questions for me?
Oh man, I'm enjoying the show, brother.
Okay.
No questions so far.
All right. Still waiting on this
Yeah.
the stream to come back.
Y'all getting y'all questions together in the chat lag? I keep going off camera too, man, because I'm a little under the weather, so I keep wiping my doggone nose.
I hear you, bro.
Yes.
All right, so we back up now.
Great.
All right, I'm gonna share the screen.
This statement is from Messenger Elijah.
Let me go back. Present. Share screen. All right, so this is John Ali, and right after the Kennedy assassination. So this was 1963. John F. Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963. So this was the response of the Nation of Islam. This was the official response. All right. Let me pull this up.
Yep.
This statement is from Messenger Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Muslims of America. Minister Malcolm Shabazz addressing a public meeting at Manhattan Center in New York City on Sunday, December the 1st, did not speak for the Muslims when he made comments on the death of the president, John F. Kennedy. He was speaking for himself and not the Muslims in general. And Minister Malcolm has been suspended from public speaking for the time being. Mr. Muhammad's correct statement on hearing of the death of the president was as follows. We with the world are very shocked at the assassination of our president, and the nation still mourns the loss of our president. And he has said that it seems that every president who speaks out on behalf of the Negro has been assassinated, from Lincoln to President Kennedy.
Now, it's important to point out that the rhetoric in the Nation of Islam about John F. Kennedy, and all presidents for that matter, was not good. I mean, they literally saw America as the devil, as the great beast. And the man in the White House was the chief devil. So the idea that the Nation of Islam would come out and make a public statement against its own leadership regarding a man who they regarded as being the chief devil shows the level of hypocrisy that the Nation of Islam showed back in the 60s. And now, this is very important here. This particular video is of John Ali recently as an old man. And I want y'all to really listen to this clip. This is an interview that he did a couple years ago after being in hiding for several years. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, that's not it. That's the same one. Oh, that's the same one. Well, I have it. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to share my screen and pull it up right here. All right. Listen to what John Ali says about his affiliation with the Nation of Islam. Now, remember, John Ali, basically the second in command of the nation in the 1960s.
75th and shit was 700. That's a lot of employment.
All right. So this is John Ali on the couch. And what he's about to talk about is, can you see that? Or is it covered up? Let me pull this up again.
Yeah, I think it was covered.
Okay. Share screen. There we go. So John Ali is the man sitting on the couch. That's the older guy. He's older in this picture, obviously, but before it was a younger video. And then he's being interviewed. But listen to what he says about his affiliation with the Nation of Islam. I think you'll find it very, very interesting.
Graduating class of 750. I was in that class. And they had the Secretary of Commerce, Charles Sawyer, as the commencement speaker. And Dr. Jacobs, who was the president of the university, he had arranged for me to go down to Washington to see Secretary Sawyer.
Now, bear in mind, I got to put this in context. This is prior to him joining the Nation of Islam and becoming the secretary, the national secretary. Prior. So this is him getting out of university, him being John Ali, the guy who's talking. Here we go.
A lot of employment. Because in the 50s, I graduated with an accounting and economic degree. But in those days, if you was a clerk at Woolworth, that was considered a big thing. They didn't have no black clerk. That was the same as being a doctor or a lawyer. Right. Or you was at the post office. You wore your uniform, the formals. Right. That was considered a high position. Right. High position. And that's, I want you to finish, but that's what I'm saying. Here you were, this elite so-called American Negro. What would you be doing coming in the Nation of Islam? Other than somebody say, well, let's send that Negro in. And because this is a powerful group, we want to destroy it. Even before Malcolm, why not use you? You knew Malcolm, you knew Jeremiah Shabbat. Yeah, well, when I came into the nation.
Listen, this is key. He's about to expose himself, but he don't even, like it just rolls off his tongue. Here we go.
It did not have the popularity or acceptance that it had now. Right. Or the term being black. So I accepted it, and I had been part of the black hierarchy, the elites, doctors, lawyers, and all that. Not because I was smart, but they recognized my association with white. Yeah. I gone to a white university in New England, where most blacks attended Howard, Fisk, Tuskegee. So I was like a celebrity. I'd gone to a white university and in New England, So this was unique. Yeah.
And I had told Malcolm when I came, he was the minister in the temple, that when I graduated from university, the president of the university, Dr. Jacobs, arranged for me to go to Washington to see Charles Sawyer, who was Secretary of Commerce. They were trying to employ me because of the 750 graduates, there was a graduate in my class, I was the only black. In fact, I was the first black to graduate from Bryant University in Rhode Island. So I went down there, and Charles Sawyer, the Secretary of Commerce, arranged for me to go to different departments of the United States, Treasury.
In the federal government.
In the federal government. And at that time, the FBI, they only hired lawyers or accountants for agents at that time. And they all were being hired personally by J. Edgar Hoover.
You hear that? All of them were being interviewed personally by J. Edgar Hoover, who was a director of the FBI. Now, he's talking about his interview with him prior to becoming a Muslim in the Nation of Islam, the number 2 guy under Elijah Muhammad. Listen up.
So Secretary Sawyer of Commerce, he arranged for me to have an interview with J. Edgar Hoover, which I was interviewed by him. But even though he was the head and did all the hirings of agents and senior positions in the FBI, they didn't hire me because the federal government had very few people in high position above what they call a GS4, the civil service rating. And I had a civil service rating of a GS7.
Now, he just said that he didn't get hired by the FBI. I hope y'all heard that. But he was interviewed by J. Edgar Hoover. And then he gave his GS rating, which is lingo for the federal employment or people who are employed by the federal government. He mentioned, I think he said a GS7 or a GS15 or something like that. The point is, he wasn't in the military. He just got out of college. So why would he be so familiar with this GS rating stuff if he wasn't eventually employed by the federal government or already employed and looking for other employment prior to joining the Nation of Islam, confirming what Malcolm said, that the Nation of Islam was filled with police and agents and agent provocateurs. He just confirmed it. And now again, just like Huey Newton back in the 60s, this is a black man, right, affiliated with the FBI back in the 1950s, and he just so happens to become the second in command of the most militant black nationalist group in the country at the time, the Nation of Islam. Nothing is by accident, brothers and sisters. Nothing. Here we go.
You hired them what they needed, right? I mean,
Right.
and you were overqualified.
I was qualified.
But you were overqualified.
Well, I won't say overqualified because I don't know what criteria who were using to hire people. Yes. One, you had to be a graduate in accounting or law.
Which he had.
So I certified being in accounting. And so I interviewed with him. But at that time, very few people were in the FBI. I think it was about 5. Black. Very few black. I meant to say black, right. So very few black. And they didn't have any black agents back in 1950.
But why did you let these rumors go on for so long. You knew they were out there.
All right.
Well,
So that's that clip.
And like the messenger, he knew.
I bring that up because, again, this is the number 2 guy in the Nation of Islam, proving again that Malcolm was correct when he said that there was federal or police infiltration of the nation. All right. Where we at on time, bro?
9:30. Shit, we only been an hour and
Okay.
6 minutes.
Cool. I got a couple more slides, and then we can do questions. I'll take a question now if anybody got one in the chat.
I just typed it in the chat too. Any questions out there? Any questions from anybody? Questions, comments, or observations?
All right. So here's the next video. In this video, I'm not going to show the whole thing, but this brother right here, he put this together. Also former Nation of Islam, like me, you know, exposing it for what it is or what it had been. This is a pretty old clip, but it's very detailed. It's kind of funny. I'll let you see the intro, and then we'll go right to the meat of it.
This is the bill. Put down your weapon and put your hand up. It's no use. We had all the members of your film crew in custody. They all managed out. You have 1 second to come by.
Old YouTube graphics.
Yeah, right.
Omar Shabazz, big up to him, man. He
Right.
does great work on YouTube. And this video is probably about 7 or 8 years old. But here we go, straight to the source. We're gonna break.
You got some jewels, man. I don't know where you be getting all these videos, man. You got some. Man.
Thank you, brother. All right, here we go.
Six years ago, in 2012, Shabazz Productions were about to release a new documentary titled Remote Control, H.L. Hunt's Nation of Islam. The film was to examine the relationship between a Texas billionaire, ultra-right-wing conservative, and white supremacist named Harrelson Lafayette Hunt, and a black separatist religious leader named Elijah Muhammad, who led a group called the Nation of Islam. We worked hard on that film. We knew it was going to be a thriller. And then it happened. A filmmaker's worst nightmare. Our computer blew up, and we lost all our data just before we planned on backing everything up. We were depressed, and we considered checking into a mental hospital, not as individuals, but as a group. The relationship with H.L. Hunt and Elijah Muhammad was briefly covered on February 15, 1965, just days before Malcolm X would be assassinated.
It's funny right here.
Now,
I got to show y'all this. And this is actually in that recent documentary on Netflix about the assassination of Malcolm X. You see this guy right here standing at the camera?
Yeah.
He was a police officer sworn in undercover to be Malcolm's chief of security. This was the man, this officer. If you watch that Netflix video that came out 2 years ago on the assassination of Malcolm X, but this man right here, they interview him as an old man. He was one of the chief informants for a group called Bossy. It was a division of the New York City Police Department. Basically, this guy right here infiltrated Malcolm's group and then set him up to be assassinated. The day Malcolm got assassinated, just like the day Dr. King was assassinated, somebody called all the law enforcement and police off that particular premises. Now think about that. Malcolm was being followed, tailed, and secured by the New York City Police Department. I mean, constantly. And especially if he did a major speed, he was crawling with police. But just like when Dr. King got assassinated, and I did a video on that, You can check out the channel and catch it again. Go to Scott Report on YouTube, and you'll see the video on Dr. King's assassination. But the point is, you can always see the telltale signs right before the government kills one of our leaders, particularly Malcolm and Martin, because they pull back security. It's kind of like, brother, you know, your chief of security, if he start acting funny, you need to be concerned. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. But anyway, I just thought I'd point that out. Netflix video, if you ever get a chance, watch that documentary. But here we go.
Before Malcolm X would be assassinated, Malcolm only tapped on it lightly, but planned to completely break it down on February 21st, 1965, according to Earl Grant and Robert L. Higgins, two of Malcolm's close associates. Grant and Higgins informed filmmaker Shabazz that Malcolm was going to prove that H.L. Hunt owned Elijah Muhammad and the 1965 version of the Nation of Islam. If Malcolm was allowed to speak in more detail about how Elijah Muhammad was able to maintain 2 large mansions, 2 automobiles, several apartment complexes, keep up on the rent and maintenance of dozens of temples throughout America, plus pay his ministers and laborers a monthly fee, a whole lot of receipts would have to be shown. Elijah was hitting Malcolm off alone with $1,000 a month. Here's Malcolm speaking on H.L. Hunt and Elijah.
And I guess many of you have heard it said that his financial support comes from a rich man in Texas. I heard that while I was in the movement. I've heard it more since I left the movement. A rich man in Texas. You can look up, any of you can look up his name. But the FBI knows that too. But they still don't touch him. And never have I seen a man, and this rich man who lives in Texas, by the way, lives in Dallas. His headquarters in Dallas.
Listen, this is important. Oh, and notice the bow tie. The benefactor wears a bow tie, and that was our dress code. Makes you say, I wonder.
His money is in Dallas. The same city where President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And never have I seen a man in my life more afraid, more frank than Elijah Muhammad was when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I've never in my life seen a man as frightened as he was. And when I made the statement that I did, well, he almost cracked up behind it. Because
now the statement that Malcolm made, and that's what he's referring to, is when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, the former president, who was assassinated in 1963, November 22nd, Malcolm came out against the orders of Elijah Muhammad, this is true, and said, the chickens have come home to roost. All the people that the United States have sent around the world to assassinate other leaders have come back to the United States to assassinate their own leader. Essentially, Malcolm was saying it was a Julius Caesar move. Anybody familiar with the Roman tragedy where the senators basically killed Julius Caesar, the emperor of Rome? Well, in the same fashion, Malcolm was saying that the elite in this country got together and assassinated John F. Kennedy. We need to do a video on that. I got tons of stuff on that, brother, and 9/11. But the fact that Elijah Muhammad was so upset with Malcolm now makes sense, right? Because if H.L. Hunt was responsible for assassinating John F. Kennedy, and then the pupil of Elijah Muhammad comes out attacking the guy who just got murdered, when Elijah Muhammad is being paid by the people responsible for the guy that they just murdered, you can see why he would be nervous. You know what I mean? Like Malcolm about to expose the whole game. And that's what was really going on back there in the 60s. So here we go.
there were all kinds of implications to it that at that time were way above and beyond my understanding.
You see, if Malcolm said it, damn it, then it's the truth. Why? Because the man was constitutionally built to tell the truth, unlike his detractors who suffered from liabilities. Though we didn't finish our film on H.L. Hunt and Elijah Muhammad, we must pull your coat to a 1973 movie about the JFK assassination called executive action that starred Burt Lancaster, Robert Ryan, Will Geer, and others. The movie is about the ruthless cabal who assembled to murder President John F. Kennedy. In the book, Malcolm X, The Man at His Times, Earl Grant refers to the cabal as the old ones. Grant points out how these political assassinations are always carried out with rehearsals and practice, as in Malcolm's case, inside the Audubon ballroom. The old ones in the power structure that act in this stunning motion picture are ready to carry out the assassination, but they need the financial support of someone with an inexhaustible reserve of money for a payroll for all the participants. The man who will finance the hit is played by actor Will Geer, portrayed as H.L. Hunt. It's no wonder.
All right. So again, I want to give a big shout out to Omar Shabazz Productions. They put together this clip. So it is not my clip, but they do great work on the history of the Nation of Islam. And he really broke down the H.L. Hunt paymaster, as Malcolm called him. All right. So if there's not any questions, brother, I'm going to get right into the last portion, which is on Minister Farrakhan, and bring it home. Is that good?
Yes, sir.
All right. So most people, if you semi-conscious, you know who Minister Louis Farrakhan is right here. But again, everybody may not know the history of Louis Farrakhan. This is him back in this might be in the 50s, early 60s, Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X. And here's Louis Farrakhan. Now, you got to understand the dynamic of these two men. Just like I pointed out in the documentary on the assassination of Dr. King, the person who came into power after Dr. King was assassinated was Jesse Jackson. That was the heir apparent, right? This guy right here. And without a doubt, and there's many books on it, but I just want to refer you to a couple of books. But you can get Tavis Smiley's book, Death of a King. You can get William Pepper's book. Man, give me 1 second. I want to show him.
Show, bro. Yes, yes.
I want to show him real quick. Let me grab. You know, I got a crazy library.
Yes.
A lot of people spend money on other stuff. I buy books.
Love it.
And it's important to have the real record. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's one thing to have an ebook, but when you hold the real copy in your hand, it can't be changed. So
Telling you. Yes.
Man. Well, this book breaks it down. I want to find William Pepper's book, Assassin's Trail by Jim Garrison, Double Cross, Assassination of Fred Hampton. Come on, where is it at? That was here somewhere. Well, I'm not going to find it. I do apologize. If we have more time later on, I'll look for it. I thought it was somewhere I can just grab it. Nope, that ain't it. That ain't it. Damn. All right. Anyway, here's a book that we can discuss later. We'll talk about that later. All right. So anyway, there's Louis Farrakhan, like I indicated, as a young man in the 50s. Here's Louis Farrakhan off to the right with Omar Gaddafi. Here's Louis Farrakhan on the bottom right with Jesse Jackson when he was running for president in 1984. But here's a clip what a lot of people may have never seen before. And I'm going to blow this up. But if y'all remember, Jesse Jackson was the first real black candidate to run for president in 84, right? And he ran against, in the Democratic primary, Ronald Reagan was in office. Well, look at this photo. This is very, very interesting, right? You have Vice President George Bush back here, who eventually became president. You got Ronald Reagan here, the current president. And who's standing next to him, introducing all these folks? Well, there's Jesse Jackson right there, right? And then who's in the back standing in line? Smiling. Look at that. Louis Farrakhan. Now, if anybody know anything about the Nation of Islam and Louis Farrakhan, he don't got anything nice to say about the United States government ever. But the way this nigga is grinning and smiling, you would think he's about to meet Santa Claus on Christmas. Government ever. All right? I'm trying to show people that you have to look at this stuff with a third eye. You got to look a little deeper. You know what I mean? And get past the rhetoric. And then here's another thing. Anybody that understands how the government works, you remember we talked about Fred Hampton, and not Fred Hampton, but Huey P. Newton, how he got on the plane after the murder of the cop and beat the case. Here's Umar, I can't even his name. He's Gaddafi, the former president of Libya, right before the United States went in and killed him. But anyway, he was an open enemy of the United States government. Ronald Reagan bombed him, and Obama eventually overthrew him and killed him, right? Farrakhan was able to secure millions of dollars from a man who was the enemy of the government, just like Huey P. Newton was the friend of Mao Zedong and the Chinese government. So again, you got to ask yourself, why are these individuals who seem to be tied to the government, right, posing as revolutionaries? How are they able to finagle and get around all the rules in dealing with the enemies of the United States and still stick around? Nothing ever happens to them. They never get prosecuted. They can funnel money through these people. They can get funding. They can visit them. No problem. All right, just something to think about. All right, here's what Minister Farrakhan had to say about the death of Malcolm X. I'm going to cue it up. And then we're going to get to the last video, and we should finish up right around 10 o'clock. Here we go. 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Here's Minister Farrakhan on Malcolm X assassination.
About no white man law when you attack what we love. Mother, let somebody look like they're attacking your child. There's a woman who fought a bear because the bear snatched her baby. And she ran the bear down, screaming until the bear dropped her baby. Love casts out fear. We don't give a damn about no white man law when you attack what we love. And frankly, it ain't none of your business. What have you got to say about it? Did you teach Malcolm? Did you make Malcolm? Did you clean up Malcolm? Did you put Malcolm out before the world? Was Malcolm your traitor or was he ours? And if we dealt with him like a nation deals with a traitor, what the hell business is it of yours?
I think that's pretty much an omission, right? If we dealt with him like they deal with traitors, what the hell business of yours? Right? This is what Minister Farrakhan said. This is probably like 94, right? Maybe 93, right after the Malcolm X movie came out. And it was a pivotal time for me as a young man because being in the Nation of Islam, this is what I was attracted to, brother. I mean, the rhetoric was strong. The fact that you got a black man talking the way he talked, I mean, it was very attractive. I can't deny it. You know, anybody that's conscious and a man, you cannot admire you cannot not admire the ability, the orator ability of Minister Farrakhan. He's one of the greatest speakers that I think our community and probably all communities have ever produced. But it's rhetoric, you know, it's all talk at the end of the day. Anyway, I think he incriminated himself here a lot by talking about the death of Malcolm. Here we go.
You just shut your mouth and stay out of it. Because in the future, we're going to become a nation. And the nation got to be able to deal with traitors and cutthroats and turncoats. The white man deals with his. The Jews deal with theirs. Salman Rushdie wrote a nasty thing about the prophet, and Imam Khomeini put out a death thing on him, and it stands today. Certain paths you don't cross. Like I said last week, in every prophet's community, there were zealots. I'm telling you, Elijah Muhammad told us, leave that man alone. I believe,
You notice he backtracked when he get to the end. You know, it's so convoluted because there's no doubt that the Nation of Islam had a hand in the assassination of Malcolm X. And I'll say this and be quick, and we'll watch the last clip. On the day of the assassination of Malcolm X on February 21st, 1965, Louis Farrakhan, who was the minister in Boston at that time, got in his vehicle and drove to Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey is the mosque, or the mosque was located in Newark, New Jersey, was the mosque where all of the killers of Malcolm X came from. So again, let me put this in perspective. You have a mosque in Boston, you got a mosque in Newark, New Jersey, you got a mosque in New York City, which was Malcolm X's former mosque that he was the head of, right? Mosque number 7. Louis X, that's what his name was at the time, drives on the day of the assassination from Boston all the way down to Newark, New Jersey, to meet with members of the mosque. And that particular mosque produced all of the known assassins of Malcolm X. Does he directly involve in the planning? I don't know. Did he, help orchestrate it or come out with, some type of situation where, he helped ensure his death? I don't know. But here's what I do know. He became the national spokesman of the Nation of Islam shortly after the assassination of Malcolm X. So he had a lot to benefit from the death of Malcolm. In fact, there's even some speeches where he says that if Malcolm didn't die, there would be no Farrakhan. And that's true. Just like if Dr. King didn't get assassinated, there would probably be no Jesse Jackson. So there's always some young, I think, neophyte agent waiting in the wings to take the reins once the real guy is knocked off. This is the last clip I'm going to show. Let me go back to here. And this is a recent clip, brother. Did you have any questions about the last Farrakhan clip I just showed? The one I just showed?
No, but I had ran to the bathroom, man. I couldn't believe that he said that shit like that, man. Ain't no doubt. It was, like you said, admission of guilt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Like, he was passionate saying that shit too. Like,
yeah. And that got us pumped up. You can't really deny it. Some things are undeniable. And then he kind of pulled back because I think he realized what he said.
Yeah, of course.
And again, the irony about all of this is, if the government really wanted to take down the Nation of Islam, it could have did that. It could have easily accused them of assassinating Malcolm X and went in and arrested, Elijah Muhammad. It could have easily arrested Elijah Muhammad for polygamy, especially when the young women who were his former secretaries took him to court for alimony. They could have arrested him, but they never came after Elijah Muhammad. They never prosecuted him. And the same thing can be said for Louis Farrakhan, because after the movie Malcolm X came out, he did a number of speeches like that. And no prosecutors ever came after him. He never fully explained his whereabouts on that day. We know this from the historical record from a lot of, a lot of other people. And then the last thing I'll say is he tried to reconcile, Louis Farrakhan, with the family of Malcolm X over the assassination. And maybe I'll show that clip in part 2. But this particular video that I'm about to show you now is a recent video of Minister Farrakhan. And this video is important. I thought I would show it because, again, Elijah Muhammad was accused of polygamy. He was accused of having multiple wives. He was accused of not taking care of the wives. And this particular pattern is what led Malcolm to leave the Nation of Islam. Now, this video was done on Sunday, the 27th of February, 2022, last year. And it's funny because I haven't seen a lot of this on the internet. Nobody's talking about it, so it's kind of weird. I seen one other brother talk about this on the barbershop on YouTube. But here we go. Listen for yourself.
Down a half a mile, up a half a mile wide. It was like being invited to a city that's 40 miles up above the earth.
He's describing his experience with a UFO and a dream that he had, just for context.
And there I was on that wheel. I was frightened because, God, I had taken on a wife or two.
Hope y'all caught that. He was frightened because he had taken on a wife or two. Now remember, this is not the messenger. This is not, he doesn't call himself a prophet in the theology of the Nation of Islam. There's only one messenger. That was Elijah Muhammad. And they justified him having multiple wives, right? Because of his spiritual significance. But not until this video came out was it ever publicly stated by any official in the Nation of Islam that Farrakhan himself had multiple wives.
Wow.
And this vision that he's having in the UFO that he's describing, see, the Nation of Islam, another theology that's not well known, is that we were taught to believe that what you call UFOs and flying saucers are really angels from the black god, or in this case, kind of hypocritical, the white god, Master Farad Muhammad, and that Elijah Muhammad didn't actually die, but that he actually transcended, and he's up on this spaceship, if you will, and this is the vision of Minister Farrakhan, and that's part of the theology. And I was trained to believe it, and I did believe it, which again goes to show cognitive dissonance. You could be in religion and go along with some stuff that just sometimes don't make sense. But anyway, here's the rest of the video.
Did you hear me? And
Here.
there I was on that wheel. I was frightened because, God, I had taken on a wife or two. Did you hear me? What? Yeah. He said, do like you see me do. Go like you see me go. But when I got up on the wheel, I'm nervous. And so the first thing I asked, I heard Elijah Muhammad's voice. I never saw him. I asked him about my taking wives. And he
This is almost like he's sitting on a couch with his psychiatrist, man, but he's talking publicly. Anyway, he's getting old, but I'll continue. Any questions, bro? All right, here we go.
acted like he was disgusted with me. I didn't do this. It's only a sign of what you will have on the other side of your next visit to me. That don't make me happy. Because women in your life is a trial. Women in your life becomes your biggest test. The Holy Quran says one is better for you if you but knew, but you get more than one and you'll find out why one is better. No. There's a time and a place for everything. But women are not to be played with. So those of you study guide 18, I have a warning in there in red. Don't do that. It's not for you.
Hope you caught that. In the lessons and in the study guides, we're told not to have more than one wife. He's lecturing and telling the members that's not for you. You shouldn't have more than one.
Oh yeah.
So I hope you follow what he's doing, man. It's really psychologically kind of warped. But anyway, I'll continue.
Well, is it for you? Yes. See, how can you tell that Allah is not displeased with me? Because he never left me. I'm successful in whatever I do. He hasn't turned away from me. But I thank Allah for those sisters, because each of them has been my teacher. How are you going to deal with women if you don't know them? 75% of the messenger's work is with women. He didn't call you out to put you over his class. Ask about me in my class. Ask about me in my class. Sister Naima, the head of the class, and all the rest of them can tell you, I have never, ever been fresh or smart or scheming with any of the sisters in the class except those that were for me.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I've never been fresh or scheming or whatever he said, except for the ones that was for me. Damn. All right, let's keep going.
And if you weren't one of them, it ain't your fault. But I don't need no more. For sure. I don't like that life. I don't like to hurt women. You can't be married to more than one and find peace. I tried everything I could. It ain't working.
It ain't working.
It ain't working.
So wait a minute. I thought you said it ain't for everybody, but it's for you because you was chosen by God but it still ain't working.
It ain't working.
I'm telling you, man. I don't know if he had a drink or what. Anyway, here we go.
So if you're a wise man, you leave stuff alone that you can't handle. And I can't say I'm the best handler of that kind of life. But my children, they stand up for me. My children know I'm not a dirty man. And those of my children that were produced from those women, they can tell you what I've done to make them all a family. The only one. And that's why you all should pay honor and respect to Mother Khadijah. That's why every time you see her, thank her for being, to me, a believing friend. Don't think she likes that. What woman would? Well, there's a lot of women that agree with that. Yeah, you're the second one. Not you ain't the first. And the first don't agree with that a damn bit. But if you want to get in the family, you say, oh, that's nice. Until the third one comes. Sisters, don't let men play you while I'm gone.
Yeah, so that's it, bro. This is part one. But I had to address it, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a couple questions in the text. Hold on.
Right. Go ahead.
We got one from Afro God. It says, what does the NOI consider to be God?
So the Nation of Islam doctrine, again, it's centered around Farad Muhammad, this white-looking man here. And the theology goes like this. God is a man. He came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. So this man, we were taught, is the embodiment of Allah in the flesh, physically. And that the theology is almost like the way people understand Jesus, except he's not the son of God, like in person. He is God himself in person. So that's who the Nation of Islam, that's it. I hope that answers the question, but that's the basic rundown of the theology of who the Nation of Islam considers God. Now, this is totally different than what is believed by the other billion Muslims on the planet in Saudi Arabia and other places. This is distinctly the teachings of Elijah Muhammad and Farad Muhammad. Okay, so that's who the Nation of Islam looked as God, as a physical man who came to America in 1933, named Farad Muhammad. And here's a picture of him here. And that his last messenger was Elijah Muhammad. And that's his picture here. This is the Black Muslim theology.
It ain't sharing.
You can't see it?
No,
Okay.
you gotta push share.
All right, let me go back to the screen. My bad.
Capri Queen.
There we go. Can you see it?
I only see one of your questions. Sorry about that, bro.
Yeah, if you want to look at the screen, it's ready to share.
There we go.
So the guy here in the top left, Farad Muhammad, God in person. Elijah Muhammad, the messenger of God. And Farrakhan is the new messenger of God. He gets to have wives too. So there you go. Not you. You can't handle it.
Not you.
No, don't try that.
Capri Cappy Queen, if I'm saying it right. Any word from the men that were recently exonerated for the murder of Malcolm X?
What's the question again?
Has there been any word from the men that was recently exonerated for the murder of Malcolm X?
No, well, I mean, there's been word, they've done interviews and said, they're happy that, they were exonerated for it and they got a settlement. I know that one of them died prior to the, clearing of his name. But for, 35, 40 years, almost 50 years, more than 50 years, people thought that these three guys were responsible for the assassination of Malcolm X. But it turns out, and again, I ask everybody to watch that Netflix video or documentary, The Assassination of Malcolm X. It came out a couple years ago. Gives a lot of detail on who really killed the Malcolm X. And what's unfortunate, or what is fortunate, is that even the documentary talks about the guy who had the shotgun having ties to the federal government, being an informant. So this was, again, it goes back to that point. Nothing goes down that the government doesn't want to go down, as Malcolm said. So I also saw in the chat, one of the sisters asked, Farrakhan said that plain Mother Khadijah. Mother Khadijah is his first wife. That's the wife of all of his children that we know about publicly. And again, I think that the guy, Farrakhan, is getting older now, and maybe he's feeling guilty, or maybe he got to this issue before anybody else got to it and made it public. But as he said, his first wife ain't happy with his new wives. But I thought he could handle it. I don't know, but that's who Khadijah is. If that answers the question that was in the chat, his first wife.
Okay, there go the other question. Hold on, let me put it on the screen. Who does he think was closest to J. Edgar Hoover? It was rumored that he used the blacks to deflect from the Italian mafia.
Yeah, that's two questions in there. So who do I think was closest to J. Edgar Hoover? I think J. Edgar Hoover was definitely compromised by the mafia. And what's ironic, this is why we got to do this show on a regular basis, is that the most powerful mafia in this country is not the Italian mafia. That's the misconception. That's the Hollywood version. The most powerful mafia in this country is the people that Kanye West was talking about, the Jewish mafia. What do I mean? Even if you look at the history of the mafia in this country, La Cosa Nostra, you'll find people like Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy Siegel was the guy that actually discovered and invented Las Vegas. You'll see people like Meyer Lansky, Jewish guy who was part of Murder Inc., right? The real Murder Inc., not the rap group. The Murder Inc. from the 30s, right? You'll see people like Arnold Rothstein. These are all Jews who really run the real mob in this country. And who do I think J. Edgar Hoover was closest to? I think J. Edgar Hoover was a part of the deep state. That he represents that branch of the police that will be the enforcer for the elite power structure that runs this country. So J. Edgar Hoover is close to power, or was close to power. But I do believe that he created and helped formulate the Black Panther Party. I do believe that they had a direct arm in the assassination of Malcolm X, and they directed members of the Nation of Islam. As you can see with the interview that I showed with John Ali, John Ali said he was interviewed, by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI, but he didn't hire him as an agent, but he got the interview. But he knew all the details of the different levels of the federal government and what status and all that, even though he had just got out of college. Come on, man. These guys are feds, and they faking. I can't say it no more plainly. And it was always rumored that John Ali was indeed, here he is right here, a federal agent. Here he is again. And basically working on behalf of the government. Then you may ask, okay, in an interview I showed John Ali, did Elijah Muhammad know that John Ali was the feds? What I've learned in studying religious leaders, especially people like Elijah Muhammad, is that they just want to keep that gravy train coming. You know what I'm saying? They ain't really trying to ruffle no feathers. And that's what Malcolm was trying to say. That every time there's an action, the Nation of Islam was absent, right? They wasn't really involved in the civil rights struggle. Churches get bombed, things happen. They talk tough, but they wasn't really trying to go at the white man and fight him, you know, in hand-to-hand combat. No, it was all rhetoric. So anyway, I hope that answers the question. Who was closest to Hoover? I think Hoover had his hand in everybody's business.
All right, hold on. I don't know. It says, does the brother have an issue with polygamy within other Islamic communities, Sunni, etc.?
No, my personal position on polygamy or any type of sexual or relationship, that's your business. I really don't give a damn. I mean, what you do in your house behind closed doors is your business. And frankly, I don't want to know. I mean, and this is why well, it's another show, but we can talk about this whole other movement that's going on in this country right now to turn boys to girls and, you know, and girls to boys and boys to girls. I mean, you know, I don't care. It's your business. But I do think it is destructive for the community. And we can talk about that if there is a black community. Sometimes I think all hope is lost. But in any event, no, I don't have a problem with polygamy. I don't have a problem with anybody's sexual preference, you know, whatever. I just don't anymore. So, not my concern. You can be with a chimpanzee if you want to, as long as he consents or she.
What's up, Fat Cadillac? Any more questions, comments? What's up? No more questions? We're gonna be on here on Fridays, y'all. Probably around. I don't know if we're gonna do the same time slot. We're gonna figure that out in the future, maybe, or you want to stick to this time?
Whatever was convenient for you, man. I know you got a lot going on with the show, and I'm flexible. I just want you, brother, to, you know, continue to have an open mind about some of these topics because, like I said, the title was Nothing Sacred. We going after everything. Nothing is sacred. I even want to cover the George Floyd situation from another perspective. And I know you know that's sacred in the black community.
Yeah.
You know, because he's a saint now. But yeah, we got some different opinions. So
well, what you got? What you got in mind for next week?
You know, next week, something that I've been thinking about to bring it kind of current. I really want to dive into what happened this past, you know, what happened in the last 3 years, the pandemic. I really want to dive into that because a whole lot of information has come to light about how all of us got played.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were forced to take the jab. And some people were coerced and said that they won't have a job if they don't take the jab. But a lot of evidence is coming out that there's some shit in the game, and I think we need to discuss that. Again, it's a sacred cow for a lot of people.
I definitely would love that. Let's do that one next week.
All right.
You know, I don't talk about it much, man, but I'm gonna say it the first time, and I think that jab is what fucked my parents up. You know,
a lot of people dealing with stuff, man. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, real shit, man.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. My pops passed away on February 19th.
Oh, damn.
Mom's still in the hospital. Yeah. Jab, brother. Never had health issues. Man, my parents was good, bro. Fucking jab.
We need to address it, man. Sorry, man.
Oh, real shit. I know it for sure. I don't fuck with nobody say.
Yeah.
No, just got the autopsy today. I ain't even read it. So for my father.
Have you seen that documentary, man, called Died Suddenly?
No.
Oh, man, I'm going to send it to you, bro. Well, they do the autopsies. It's the coroners, though. Not the coroners. It's the funeral directors. And the stuff that they pulling out of people's bodies, man. I seen the video. But, yeah, it's cold. It's called Died Suddenly. If anybody's seen it on YouTube, go ahead and mention it in the chat. But it's died suddenly. Matter of fact, you want me to see if I can pull the title up and show it?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, and then I know you got stuff to do, man. We can probably pull out. Yeah, I'm definitely game for that. So,
yeah, for sure.
well, you know what? Maybe YouTube don't have it. I think I might have caught it on Odyssey. Now that I think back, because you know what YouTube is. You want to get the truth sometime, you know, YouTube ain't the place. So yeah, check out Odyssey and look up "Died Suddenly." I can't find it on YouTube. Anyway, all right, bro. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me out tonight.
Yeah, my bad. Oh, my bad.
That's all right. Take your time.
Yeah. What'd you say? Anything? That's it? Anything else?
Yeah, that's good. That's it for now.
Close out there, man. You can peace out to the people.
All right. So once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. Please visit my channel, the Scott Report, when you can get an opportunity to look at it. And I'm gonna upload that Black Panther video over there with your permission, brother.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, of course.
And then you can snatch it too, once we put it up over there that we did a couple years back. So
do this go. Yeah.
So, signing off, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Peace, man. Next week, bro.
Right,
hit me up tomorrow when you free, man. We can talk about that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
All right, for sure.
All right, later.
All right, chat, man. My big bro Mike in the building. Yeah. Another one. That's our third or fourth show. Third or fourth one. And we might as well retouch on them other ones, in the future too, that got terminated on my other channels. It's crazy. I told him too. I said, man, download that shit, man, because my channel ain't no telling. The channel may not last. And I'll be good. God damn, it's gone. Yeah, shout out to the big bro. Thank you so much. You're right. Thanks for coming, man. Peace to the brother. I'm gonna get out of here. I got me some vegan soup, chicken soup, whatever. Yes. And time to go watch The Boss. Let me drop the link. Oh, y'all got the link. It better not be a single person in here that don't be over in The Boss channel. You about to go live. Shout out to No Chill Gil. Probably already started. Shout out to my motherfucking boss. Drop this link for the family. Here it go, y'all. Going live soon. I got my baby set up. Woo! Look at that logo. Ooh, you gotta represent, right? Ooh, gotta represent, right? I got that on this one too. I put it black.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
Gotta love it, boy. They pay the bills. They make it happen. They cut the checks. Y'all. Gotta represent, whoever you work for. I'm telling you. Time for me to enjoy my soup. Enjoy the boss's show. Paperwork Party Part 6. Right? What's the Paperwork Party Part what, y'all? Oh, man. Michelle, salute. Angie, STS. Hey, Kelly, what's up, baby? Boss Cap, what's up? Salute, everybody. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you. It might come through, man. You got to shit. I got to put on something. You know, I ain't had no button down. I wanted to put on, so I just put this little blazer on, this shirt. You know, some jeans. Yes. Another day in the office. Let me see. Let me find. Oh, that's why this thing acting funny. It's on this pad. Let me find a video out the door. Keith, what's up? Salute. What's going on? Appreciate it, Avell. Thanks. Oh man, Mike a dog. I'm telling you, he got some information. That is a very, very smart man. I just read Gil's chat. Look what Gil put in the chat. I should stall this shit out a little longer. He probably listening though. I'm fucked up. Look what he put in the chat, y'all. Look. Just waiting for sure. All right, y'all. We're gonna end a quick video out the door. Okay. I got cases of water I ain't even open. Thank everybody for tuning in, man. Thank y'all so much. Hey, go over to the boss. To the boss.